You know that movie Scream? Did you know that that inspired a real-life murder? Now the story starts with this guy, Brian. And Brian is 16, living in Idaho, and Brian loves scary movies. He especially loves the Scream franchise. In fact, he loves these movies so much that he wants to be like the killers in the movies and actually unalive someone. Like, he thinks that would be a big thrill. So he teams up with his best friend, this guy, Tori. Tori is also 16 and he also loves scary movies. And at some point in 2006, these two get together and they start talking about wanting to murder people. Like, a lot of people. Like, they don't even think murdering people should be illegal. That's how into it they are. And so they make a death list of people they want to take out. Like people at school, and even some of their own friends are on the list. Then they start planning their first murder and how they're going to be able to pull it off without getting caught. And because they're film fans and because they're stupid, they decide to record everything. And so then they get a hold of 4 different knives that they're going to use to pull this off. Then they pick a name from their death list, and one night they head over to this person's house.
So we're gonna kill her and her friends, and we're gonna keep moving on. I heard some news about Kirsten. She's gonna be home on from 6 to 7.
But they get there and they can see that this victim isn't alone, and so they have to call everything off. Then they pick another name, but same thing. This person ends up not being alone. In fact, they try several different times, but none of these would-be victims are alone, so they can't pull this off. So it looks like their murder plan isn't gonna work out. But then they hear about this girl, Cassie Jo. And Cassie Jo is also 16, and she's their friend who goes to school with them. And Brian and Tori hear that this coming weekend, Cassie Jo is supposed to be house-sitting for her aunt and uncle and taking care of their pets. And therefore, she's gonna be alone. And so Brian and Tori feel like this is the perfect opportunity to pull off their murder and make it just like that first Scream movie. And so Brian and Tori, they're all excited. They even make masks to wear during the murder. They're kind of like the Scream mask, but, different. And so anyway, eventually the big day comes. Friday, the day of the crime.
It's supposed to happen, so hopefully I'll be moving on.
And they go to school that day, and they even see Cassie Jo there, and they walk up to her, filming her.
Hello, Cassie. I'll get you on tape, okay? Say hi, please. Okay, see ya.
Now at some point that day, they find out that Cassie Jo's boyfriend, who we'll just call boyfriend, they find out that he's gonna be with Cassie Jo that night at her aunt and uncle's house. And so I guess Brian and Tori are like, whatever, we'll just unalive him too. Now apparently Cassie Jo and boyfriend even invite Tori over to the house to watch a movie with them because, they're all friends. And so it looks like Brian and Tori's plan is going perfectly so far. So then, later that night, the guys show up to the house Cassie Jo is house sitting. And Cassie Jo is happy they showed up, and she gives them a tour of the place, and they walk all through the house and the basement. Then, they all 4 go and they start watching a movie, Kill Bill Volume 2. So everything's going fine. Then, at some point during the movie, Brian and Tori tell Cassie Jo and boyfriend that they're leaving, because they want to go watch a different movie at a nearby movie theater. So they leave, or at least they pretend to leave. They actually drive for about 15 minutes, and then they come back, and they park in a secluded spot a bit a ways from the house. Then they change into dark clothes, and they put on those masks that they made, and they get their knives. Then they sneak in through a back door that they had secretly unlocked while Cassie Jo was giving them a tour of the house. And that door leads them into the basement. So now they're hiding in the basement. And they want to try and lure Cassie Jo and boyfriend down there so that they can murder them. So they start making all this random noise, hoping that Cassie or someone will come check it out. But it doesn't work. No one comes down. Then they turn off all the power to the house by flipping the circuit breaker. But still, no one comes down to check it out. Then they start flipping the power on and off again a few more times. But still, nothing. Meanwhile, upstairs, Cassie Joe and boyfriend, they know something weird is going on. I mean, the power's going on and off. They can also see Aunt and Uncle's dog growling at the basement door. And they want to go check it out, but they're a little too freaked out to go down there. So they decide not to. Now eventually, it gets late, and it's time for boyfriend to go home. And he doesn't want to leave Cassie Joe there alone with the power going in and out and stuff, so he calls and asks his mom if he can stay the night there. But unfortunately, mom says no. And so ultimately, boyfriend's mom comes and picks him up, and he leaves. And now, Cassie Joe is there all alone. And I guess Brian and Tori know that boyfriend left because they start coming out of hiding. And boom, they hit the breaker. They turn off the lights one last time. And now the whole house is dark. And they start creeping upstairs. And there they find Cassie Joe lying on the couch, and they both take out their knives, and pow, they attack her, and they start stabbing her. And they stab her again, and again, and again, until she's unalived. They stabbed her more than 30 times. And then these crazy bastards, they're all excited, and they finally did it. They murdered their friend, just like the Scream movie. And so they leave the house, and they run down the street back to their car. And they're so fired up, they have to turn on their camera and record.
Just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a f***ing joke. I stabbed her in the throat, and I saw her lifeless body just, like, disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie. I mean, why so fast? We gotta get her out of here.
And after they're done celebrating, they go into Black Rock Canyon, which is like a local hiking trail, and they find a secluded spot, and they try and burn a bunch of the evidence, like, the knives and the masks and some of the tapes they've been recording. And when that doesn't really work, they bury the rest of it. But why record all these videos if you're just gonna burn them? But anyway, a few days later, Cassie Joe's aunt and uncle, they get home, and they find her body, and they call 911. And so now the police are involved, and they start investigating. And the first thing they do is they question boyfriend. And boyfriend tells them, yeah, these guys, Brian and Tori, they were at the house with us earlier that night. So then police call in Brian and Tori for questioning. And Brian and Tori, they have their story all straight, like it's all thought out and coordinated. Except when police ask them, so you left early to go see a movie at a theater, right? And the boys are like, yep. And the police are like, so, tell me about the movie you saw. And the boys are like, So police know something's going on. They know they're guilty. And eventually, Brian confesses, and he leads police to where they buried all the evidence, and that's where they find the videotapes of them admitting to their crimes. And so, bam, police arrest Brian. Here's his mugshot. Also, bam, they arrest Tori. Here's his mugshot. And ultimately, they both get life in prison.